Good morning everyone. Welcome to another episode of Saklan's Classic Car Reviews. Today we've got a car that's come with great history and heritage. Today we've got the 1949 Mark II Humber Pullman Limousine. And to go into the heritage and history of the car, let's start from 1930s when the Roots group of companies started producing the Humbers that were for the upsized models and they were for the higher end demographic status of the society. So they started producing cars that were used by the officials and police officers. In 1940s, Humber, after the World War II, they upsized their cars and they introduced two variants of the car. One was a 7-seater and one was the 5-seater. The difference being the compartment window between the passengers and the drivers driving at the front. This being a 7-seater and with the compartment window was called the Pullman Limousine, and the other model was called the Imperial, which was 5-seater. This car, being a Pullman limousine like other limousines, was a chauffeur-driven car. So if I could show you the interior of the car, there is very less space for the person to sit in. So back in the day, the drivers for these cars used to be short-heighted, so they could fit in easily in the car. And let me try and get inside for you. Yeah, obviously it's hard to get in it. But an interesting story for this is that when Humber started producing these cars and delivering these to the state officials after the World War II in Britain, they used to provide, the Root group of company used to provide a driver with it as well. So they produced a car for the Prime Minister of Britain, Winston Churchill, and for that they gave him a driver as well whose name was Bullock. So Winston Churchill used to enjoy this car a lot, and in his personal diaries and in his interviews, he's mentioned that he used to call his Humber Pullman limousine the Bullock car because his driver's name was Bullock. And if you see the length of this car, it's Bullocks. Before I tell you about more options that were provided in this car, let me tell you about its heritage and history in Pakistan. So this car, it comes from the motor khana of the Nawab of Bahawalpur. He's famous in Pakistan and he was famous in the Indian subcontinent as well. He had a huge collection of cars, and it was famous that for every car Nawab Sahib had, he used to have two of those cars. So this car was one of two Humber Pullman limousines that Nawab Sahib owned, and this car was for his family. So if I could show you at the key of this car, it's got the Bahawalpur stamp on it as well. It's got the state flag as well, and it's got Nawab Sahib's portrait on it as well. This car in its time had the number BWP 386, and after it was auctioned, it got the number BR4147, and now it's got a new registration plate, and it's still intact and in the same position as he had. If I could show you the dashboard, it's got wooden trim on it as well, it's got the metal on it as well, it's got the light dippers as well, indicators as well, ashtray as well, and it's a push start car for its time. So this car came with two options for starting. It was a crank start driven car as well, and it was a push start as well. You've got the oil gauges here, water gauges here, temperature gauges here, and the speedometer here, which is in miles per hour. And if I could show you to my back, there's a compartment window as well. So the Nawab Sahib's family, they had respect for their women in their family, and they wanted them to travel in privacy. So this was a sort of privacy glass. Continuing with the interior of the car, this car has got a 3-spoke steering wheel. It's quite big. If you could see, it could fit the almost upper part of my body in it. It's got the horn here as well, still working quite loud. It tells everyone, makes a statement on the road. You can change the light from here. This is the light dipper as well, and this is for the indicators. So this car has manual indicators that pop out of the door side of the car. Now that you've enjoyed the front of the car, let me take you back to the exterior and the back. And if I could show you here, the handbrake of the car goes here. It's got a lever as well, quite hard and strong. It stops the car quite well. And it's got, as you can see, it's got the hinged doors that close this one. It's got the quarter window as well. Like this was the AC of the car back in the day. You're driving on the road and you open the quarter window and the air flows through the car and ventilates it, and it's quite cold inside. The back door is a hinged door as well. And here you can see the indicators I was telling you about. Let me get inside, and wow, it's a... Yeah. There's a lot of space, a lot of room in this car, you know, like you feel like you're traveling like a king in this car. And I've got a lot of space here. I could put this back and show you. It's got the cushion seat here as well. There's seat at the front of me as well that were for the little kids or the servants that were traveling with the Nawab Sahib's wife, and they could sit down here. They could pull that out. It's got the AC vents here as well, and the heater vents here as well. If I could show you the interior, it's got maroon leather pushes. It's got the beige velour on top. It's got the courtesy lamps on here. So if you're traveling and you want to read out a book, you could take it out or pull out a newspaper and you could turn on these courtesy lamps and read through them. It's got the sidebars as well. So if you're going through a bumpy area or you're traveling at high speed, you could just hold it on, grip onto it and drive. It's got the ashtrays here as well, and you could light up your cigarette and, you know, enjoy your car. Like the features that came in this car in 1949, you know, they are coming in the cars now. The compartment window I was telling you about goes here. It's a middle compartment window. It's sort of a privacy glass, and the traveler in this car, they used to sit at this end of the car, you know, so they could avoid any eye contact with the driver, and the driver was driving on the right side, so they had to be on the left side, and they could open the window from here and give an order or something. It's huge. It's like a mammoth. It's like a motorhome on road and motorhome on wheels. If you could see this car from a distance, you could easily discern it's a A Humber Pullman limousine, that's all it says. It's a statement car by its size, and it's got a beautiful style and design for a car by British standards. If you could see the size of this fender, it arches out and goes on so well, and it's got the rear view mirror mounted on it as well. The headlight at the front, it's got chrome and bumpers at the front. It's got fog lights as well, and if you could see together, if you come back to the side step, you know, the side step, it arches out, it curves out so beautifully, and the whole style and design, the round body style of this car goes back to the exterior and back of the car. You know, the fender size of this car is huge. It's beautifully crafted, built. Obviously it was a car for the, you know, elite of the time, for the officials, state officials and the luxurious people of the time, so it was built for that. So what powers this car, the powerhouse of this car, it's a 6-cylinder 4.1 liter gasoline engine. It's a huge engine, and together with that it goes with the 4-speed manual transmission of the car. You know, that's the only transmission that could float this car. It's got a huge radiator at the front and all. And the interesting thing about this car is the contemporary models of this car, like the Austin, the Standard Flying 14, the Standard 14, the Jaguar Mark IIs, they were producing only 14 horsepower. If you could see the Volkswagen of the time, it had engraved it on the front that it produced 14 horsepower, and it was such a big thing for it. This car, compared to its contemporary models, used to produce 105 horsepower. So that was a lot for this car, and only that amount of horsepower could propel this huge land boat on the roads. Hope you enjoyed the review of this 2-odd-ton car, and together with that we've got more British cars that we're going to show you in a bit. For this Humber Pullman limousine, that's all we had so far, and we'll show you more clips of this in the future. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.